Hey Jimmy, what you doing?
What's it look like?
Looks like you're way too picky.
I had the whole lawn just about finished when the lawnmower conked out.
What are you doing cutting the lawn for anyway? Where's your gardener?
Oh, she went to have her nails done, I guess.
Are you sure you're just not out of gas?
No, I'm fine.
There's a lot of different ways to cut grass, and today we're going to visit with a man who's collected dozens of vintage lawnmowers, and maybe even pick up a bigger pair of scissors for Jimmy. Hey Dave, what you doing? Taking the old machine out for a spin?
No, I just got done mowing the yard.
You know, when most people have to take care of a lawn, they usually have one machine, but I hear you actually collect lawn and garden tractors and maybe other things.
Yes, I have about 20 garden tractors in my collection, about 10 push mowers. Like any collector, I collect other items also, and they're usually agricultural related collections.
Why don't you invite us in and show us some of your collection?
I'd be more than glad to. Well, Doug, this is part of my collection. I got my start when I was 10 years old. Went out to mow the yard and forgot to check the oil in the engine and blew it up. And our neighbor was a lawn and garden tractor mechanic. He helped me tear it apart, found out that we destroyed the engine, so we put a new engine on it. And I've been tinkering with lawn and garden tractors, push mowers, engines, farm tractors my whole life. My whole working career has basically been repairing and working on equipment.
Well, that was kind of a good thing to happen then, because it turned into a profession for you.
Exactly, it sure did. I've been self-taught, haven't had any schooling, so I feel pretty fortunate that I've been able to get as far as I have in my working career.
I've noticed you have 3 John Deeres right here. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. It doesn't even look like they've ever been sat on.
Once you restore them, you have to be a lot more careful with how you treat them. This is the first style of the lawn and garden tractors Deere made, and then the next model style was this one here. The one that looks kind of different is a custom-made tractor. It started out just like this one here. The lawn and garden tractors came about because they started out as a 2-wheeled walking plow for doing vegetable gardens and small gardens in your house. So then they went to 4-wheel to get into the lawn and garden area. The garden tractor collection is basically pre-1984.
What's the significance of the 1984 date, and why don't collectors want to accumulate models that were made after that?
Because basically they started cheapening up the mowers a little bit, more design, they were more advanced, they weren't the old style. A lot of this stuff looks like some of the old farm tractors. Like this case, for instance, looks a lot like the model during the year that was made, and that's in 1974. This Cub Cadet is the same thing. In the early 70s is when this model style came out. Nice thing about this hobby is you can get into this hobby fairly cheap. For under $300 you can buy a tractor like this.
What's that one, the Farm King over there? Is that a Datsun or a Fiat?
That is made by MTD. They are one of the largest manufacturers of lawn and garden products. I'm what you call a multicolored collector. There are your diehards for John Deere, Case, International, whatever. When I started this hobby, I wanted a 140 and a 110. This tractor here and the first hydrostat. Then I wanted one of each brand of manufacturer after that.
Was there ever a manufacturer that was akin to the old Ford Edsel?
Those are actually the rare tractors. Anything that was a fluke, or they weren't designed well, or they didn't work well, those are the ones that everybody's after. And those are the ones that will bring some major dollars.
What all is involved in a show?
Tractor shows are just like a car show. There's shows set up just for garden tractors. There's shows that have varieties. One of the clubs that I belong to, we are a working historical farm show. We do everything from horses all the way up to the 60s era.
Did American Motors ever make a Pacer lawn tractor?
Not that I know of. Well, they didn't actually make a tractor, but there was a lot of manufacturers, Fords, Chryslers, Dodges, that actually took a car or a truck and convert it into a tractor during the war years, because they didn't have tractors, because everything was being used for the war effort. And they actually took the rear end. You could buy kits from Sears and Roebuck, and they actually took it out and farmed with it.
I've noticed on TV that they're actually racing them now. Is that something that's considered sacrilegious to you hardcore collectors?
We don't do it, but the guys that do it, they're crazy. They take a stock engine, they put a great big pulley underneath the engine, and they can be going 30, 40 mile an hour on a garden tractor. And over here, Doug, we have another part of my collection. These are push mowers. They're not real big in the hobby yet, but I've had these at several shows this past year. Everybody's asking all kinds of questions. They didn't realize there's such a variety in push mowers. As you can see, I've got some from the 40s and the 30s all the way up into the early 70s.
Wow, there's some pretty wild designs here.
Yeah, there really is. That one over there in the front is an experimental. Briggs & Stratton built that only 2 years, and it's designed so that you can do all the mechanical work up on top of the engine. The engine right next to it, that's the same engine, and you can see the difference. It's all enclosed.
My great-grandmother had an old push mower like that, and I remember that thing was hard to move.
If they're sharpened and adjusted right, they do a fabulous job.
One thing I've decided is you get pretty dirty collecting these things.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You always got to keep your rag close at hand.
You know, like the riders, there's a lot of different colors I've noticed in these.
It's amazing that the color combinations that they use.
What's with the Homeco unit? It's got that big red shield on the front. What's that for, low bushes?
That's self-propelled. It was made in 1957, and the red part up front is the gearbox.
I didn't realize that self-propelled lawnmowers went back that far.
I didn't really either until I started working on them and started collecting them. I thought that self-propelleds came in the late 60s, but evidently not.
It's amazing how even the designs are so vastly different, even the size of the wheels. This is a rather unique looking lawnmower.
It looks like it's home built, but it's actually built in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a 1953 Pony. It was designed for carnival rides and amusement parks. And this one actually came from Kittyland up in Chicago. The kids would actually get on this, and there was a bumper that went all the way around, and they ran a rail system so they couldn't get off the track, because these rails would keep them inside this border. And they just pull the handle back, and that's what made it go. When they released the handle, it stopped moving. So I put a bigger engine in. This is about a 3/4 horse, and that's a 3 horse, so somebody my size can actually ride it. It was designed for little kids.
Well, you're just a big kid at heart, right? I mean, if you're gonna own it, you gotta ride it.
Well, yeah, I'm still a kid at heart. It's amazing how much attention it drew, and how many people have told me that, hey, I rode one of them up in Chicago.
You know, I remember riding something like this as a kid. Maybe not a tractor, but little Model T cars that had their own little engine in them. Even though it's not a lawnmower, it fits right into your collection. I mean, it's a great accessory.
It's been a big hit wherever we've gone. Most of the hobby, though, my thrill comes from meeting people. One of the clubs that I belonged to in 2008, I was able to start a young kids program. And we're teaching them the fundamentals of working on stuff, where they actually do hands-on experience. These kids are our future, and without that, and without us spending the time now, who knows what will happen. If this hobby takes a break, or even 1 year, it's gone forever. So we need to keep these kids involved, teach them the history, and tell them why, so that this will continue on.
And so we bid Dave adieu for now, out here where every day's an adventure, and there's always high grass ahead.